39 days, 20 castaways, 2 tribes, and 1 podcast. This is Essential Fans vs. Favorites. I'm your host, Jessica, originally from Season 7, Anarchy. And today my special guest is going to be Jack, who played in Season 4, Japan, and is a member of the executive hosting team. So the last podcast we did was basically just a cast assessment of some things that we can expect from the Favorites tribe and some things that we were looking forward to when it came to the fans. We also made some pretty bold season predictions, and we're going to kind of go over that first thing today. The first prediction we talked about was which tribe is going to start out hot, basically which one's not going to go to tribal first. I would say that Bandit and Kim did pretty good with their predictions, as they said that the fans were going to start out hot, and they said that the favorites were going to start out hot, and they were indeed correct. As we saw the fans go to tribal first. But I don't know if that holds true for the rest of the episodes. So what we're going to go over is episodes 1 through 4. We're going to talk about some things that happened, some highlights, the challenges, and then the tribals and who ended up going home each round. So first, I'm going to start off with episode 1, which was the Marooning. The Marooning and the cast reveal happened, and everybody was so excited to see who ultimately got casted for the Favorites tribe, and then what newbies would be joining us for season 10. So starting in season 8, the trek became the initial part of the Marooning. So basically what happens is the tribes get put into their own channels, and then they have to complete some sort of challenge before they can have their camps opened up and they can start DMing each other. So the trek for this season was an unscramble. So they were given a list of words. They had to unscramble them, and then they had to get the first letter to make of each word in the unscramble to have a command. And then they repeated that 2 other times. The fans ended up getting done first, and then the favorites were shortly behind them. And then once they opened up their camps, they were given information about different things that Essential has had added to their seasons over the past few seasons. So that includes the weather system, fishing, fire making, and shelter building. So with the weather system, that basically determines how easy or hard it is to catch fish or get firewood. It also can affect the shelter. Fishing came in season 7, and it's a really cool concept because basically you have to fish or eat every single day. And if you don't eat for a certain amount of days, you can actually get medevac from the season. So they have to worry about fishing, the fire making. They have to collect bamboo from the forest, and then they use that bamboo to make the fire. And the fire making really only comes in handy if there is a tie. And then the tiebreaker is making fire based on your tier. So there are 7 tiers. The first tier starts at 99 pieces, and then the 7th tier is 49 pieces. Like I said, this isn't something that everybody does. Not everybody has to do the fire making, only if you want to. But it comes in handy, like in season 9 at the final 4. There was a fire making challenge where somebody was a tier 1, so their puzzle was 99 pieces, and the other person had a tier 7, which was 49 pieces. So logic says that the tier 7 is more likely to win, and that's ultimately what happened. So that's why fire making is important. And then there's also shelter building, where the shelter will only stand for 10 days, and it has to be remade every 10 days, or you get a disadvantage. So those are some of the elements about Essential that makes it more realistic than other Survivor orgs that you may have played. So some highlights that happened day 1. So in most orgs, the first day is getting to know each other, just talking, and trying to see who you vibe with. So there isn't a whole lot of highlights that happened on day one. But there were two things that kind of stood out. And the first thing is Allison. Y'all know I love her and she's my girl, but she made the same mistake she made in season 9, except this time it didn't pay out for her. So what she did was she went hard idol hunting in the first couple of hours of the game. And then she got caught and she didn't find the idol. So people were starting to get really suspect of her and didn't really trust her right off the bat because of how hard she was hunting for the idol. Now, this paid off for her in season 9 when she did, in fact, find the idol, and that idol helped her throughout the game. But this time it didn't pay out for her because she didn't actually get the idol. Another notable thing about day 1 is Yeg. So Yeg is a group of Kristen, Cole, and Kip, all on the fans tribe. All 3 of them have played before, and they all know each other. So it's interesting how they bound together, and now they are essentially almost running the fans tribe. They talk a lot of strategy. They have their hands in all the cookie jars, and we'll get to them. We'll continue to get to them throughout the recaps of the episodes. But keep that name in mind. Yeg is extremely important to this season. So on to the first challenge. The first challenge was a split between a reward challenge and an immunity challenge. The reward portion of the challenge was trivia, where 2 tribe mates from each tribe participated in a trivia contest, and the favorites ended up winning that reward. And that reward was everybody got leveled up a tier in their fire making automatically. And then the endurance part of the challenge is the most important because it grants immunity to the winning tribe. And the endurance part was 2 tribe mates. So for the fans, that was Despair and Cole. And for the favorites, it was Bradley and Tay. And what they had to do is say, I'm still standing every 10 minutes. So 10 minutes from when the last person said it, you have 10 minutes to say it again. This challenge indeed did prove to be endurance, as we saw Tay drop at about 2 hours into the challenge, leaving Bradley to carry the team on his own against Cole and Despair. A couple hours later, we do see Cole drop. So then it's just a head-on or a one-on-one between Bradley and Despair. And they keep going. About 3 hours after Cole drops, Despair misses. And that leaves Bradley winning immunity for the favorites after about 6 or so hours of them I'm still holding back and forth. So we see the fans go to tribal. Not much going on here. Basically, everybody was just kind of going off who they had connected with and who they had least connected with. It was a unanimous 9-1 vote against Oscar, and he ends up leaving. So that's some highlights and some things that happened during the first episode. Like I said, not too much because, everyone's trying to get to know each other, trying to figure things out, get their footing. And then we start to see things unravel a little bit more in episode 2. And I'm going to hand it over to Jack for him to talk about episodes 2 and 3.
Hello, how are you?
Good, Jack. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. So yeah, after we saw Oscar get voted out, which was pretty disappointing. His interview seemed like he had a lot to offer, but sadly he was inactive and no one thought he was really given anything to the tribe. So we move on to the second episode and we immediately go into our immunity challenge, where it is Tetris, which is a horrible game for anyone who has ever played it. And it's funny because we all talked about how Jayla was the most connected person coming into the season. They had connections with John, Brittany, Tay, etc. I think B2 as well. And it kind of shows how just a poor challenge performance can really just destroy your game in a second. So the fans win their first tribal and they all celebrate because they're safe. And Brittany submits a score of 420, even after saying she could do up to 700, and it wouldn't have made a difference anyways. So they head to tribal. And a lot of people are looking at Jayla, like, did she throw, etc., etc. And meanwhile, on the fans, Yeg, as Jessica mentioned, is busy making all these alliances. Kip is the most notable for his Harry Potter alliances, and we still have not seen a Hufflepuff yet. But we get Griffin 4 with Kristen, Mark, Cole, and Kip, which is basically Yeg plus Mark. And then he has Slytherin as well, but that's later on. And the focus is really kind of not on the fans of Tribal. It was just really Yeg building their bonds. And everyone's just kind of turning on Jayla. Brittany, who's her number one, or her closest ally, is even saying it's not really looking good. She doesn't want to vote for Jayla, but everyone kind of already is. John jumps ship. Bradley's kind of disappointed. And Old School Cool is there, and they're targeting Jayla for her performance. And at the end of the day, it's kind of game over for Jayla. She knew it. She really couldn't do anything about it. It was a pretty simple episode. The most notable thing was Will immediately self-voting, going right back to his old tricks the moment he goes back in the game after a whole last year. But yeah, it's pretty much for episode 2. Jessica, you got anything to add?
Not too much going on. You mentioned Tetris. Everybody absolutely hated that challenge, and poor Jayla tried, but was not her game. And it, like you said, it just goes to show that challenge early game really can make or break your game.
Word, it did. And then when we go on to the third episode, which is so far the best episode out of the first 4, I believe. Again, the fans take the dub pretty easy. It's the puzzle jewel challenge. Not the puzzle jewel challenge. It's the grammar challenge. My bad. And again, we see another person do horrible with the Bradley. He had a horrible time of 11 minutes, 12 almost, and everyone's kind of looking at him, thinking that he's gonna go because Jayla lent because of a horrible tribal challenge performance. And it's just kind of not great for the favorites. And this is where it gets interesting because Old School Cool now has the majority with 5 people, with Will, Arya, Tay, B, and Travis. But Tay is concerned about how Travis might be flipping things, while the new school players want to target John. So, Tay sets about getting the old school to target John, and he changes the target from Will to Travis in the new school. When they went to tribal, he was very, very confident that he was staying. He thinks that he was playing everyone, and it is all a rush to see if Will is going to vote or self-vote yet again. And what is Paul? Paul says emus are trash, everyone. But it's kind of the best episode because we see Tay flip, and Bradley really comments on it, how the old school players started ignoring the new school players because they thought they had the easy majority. And that was really interesting because Tay flipped and they no longer had the majority. Now it's it's kind of a 4-4 split if Tay doesn't stay on his side. But that's pretty much it for episode 3. Anything else to add, Jessica?
You kind of hit the nail on the head with Tay. Tay really was the star of episode 3, and the fact that Travis doesn't go if Tay doesn't flip. It was interesting to see it all play out because Tay really is running the favorites tribe right now. Even with what comes later, they're at 8, and he could easily flip back to Old School Cool, and it could be 4-4. It's just going to be interesting to see how he plays it out going forward. Another interesting thing to note is Kip. Kip is all over the place, y'all. Like I think he's in almost every alliance that the fans have. He is basically making it into a cult. I'll go a little bit more into that in episode 4, but he has so much control over that tribe, and nobody knows. So he
Yeah,
is
it's crazy.
yeah, if you're not watching anybody else, watch Kip because it's impressive yet annoying at the same time how he has so much control in that tribe. So yeah, that basically wraps it up for episode 3. So we move on to episode 4. We're starting to see a lot of alliances pop up both on the fans and on the favorites tribe. One extremely notable thing about episode 4, and it's probably my favorite thing, is B. When Travis gets blindsided in episode 3 at a 5-4 vote, B, Arya, and Will were blindsided as well. But B takes it to the next level. She went off, and it was glorious. And I believe that she is going to make a move sooner or later and get her revenge, and it's going to be so much fun to watch. So B was outstanding in episode 4. There was some pretty intense Oma and Mark drama going on. And for those of you who are pretty new or haven't been watching the season, Oma and Mark are the two fans of the season. They've applied multiple times. They've been around for multiple seasons. So having them on the cast was just kind of perfect based on the description of the season. But they kind of get into it. Was not expecting that, but Oma was trying to blindside Mark, all while Mark and Kip were trying to get Oma. And ultimately, one does fall. I'll get to that a little bit later. But we just continue to see Kip all over the place. When I say he is like a cult leader, think of Boston Rob and Redemption Island and the buddy system. Kip got the entire fans tribe to agree to search for the idol together. How one does that blows my mind. And he got everybody to agree to it, and now Despair has the idol. Despair told everybody that they have the idol, and it's amazing to watch. Another notable person on the fans tribe is Matthew. He seems to be loved by everybody. His threat level is extremely low compared to one of Kip, and he seems to be in a really good spot. So I'm excited to see what Matthew can do as he goes forward. The immunity challenge for episode 4 was a jigsaw duel. So basically, each tribe was pinned up against each other, one versus one, and had to compete in a 30-piece jigsaw puzzle, and whoever had the best time wins. I would say that the favorites decisively won that challenge, sending the fans back to tribal. And this tribal was a heartbreaker. So, like I said before, it was basically Oma versus Mark, our two lovable fans of the series. And ultimately, Oma leaves to an 8-1 vote. So it was pretty unanimous. The only other vote being for Mark from Oma. And we are down to 16 people. So that's kind of the recap of the first 4 episodes. There's been a few blindsides. There's been lots of drama. It's really been entertaining. And the fact that, each episode brings something different. So, Jack, I want to ask you, which tribe do you think is in the best position?
I personally think that the fans really got this. Both of their votes have been easy, 9-1, 8-1, unified, and you gotta give that to Yeg. They've brought this tribe to a well-oiled machine, and everybody thinks that they're the head of the machine. Cameron thinks they're the head. Jalen thinks they're the head, and it's beautiful to watch, really, to see people have this much control and yet go so unnoticed that it's just the chef's kiss of Survivor. So yeah, I don't see a favorite so far winning this game. Something really has to change, But yeah, the fans, they got this.
I would agree with you. I think the fans are in the best position, but just because of how unified they are, but that's just right now. I don't see this
Hmm.
unity lasting into the merge or when things or if things get swapped up. I think everybody's tolerating it for now, but it'll be interesting to see what happens if things do get changed up soon. Um, my next question was which alliance is actually running things. Obviously, Yeg is running things on the fans tribe, but who do you think is actually running things when it comes to the favorites?
I don't think it's really an alliance, much so to say. Uh, I really think at least the last episode it was Tay, and we haven't seen him going back to tribal yet. But I wonder if Tay is gonna stick with his new 5-person alliance or make it 4-4, and I just don't know. So right now, I would have to say new school, but the old school also has the idol, so
Yeah,
it's hard to figure out who's gonna win this war, and we're not even at merge yet. So they're just a big old mess, I think.
I agree. The favorites tribe really is just interesting to me in the fact that two people I would not have expected to go home have gone home. You know, episode 2, when they first went to tribal, it was all Allison for basically like 19 hours. Allison's going. And then other names
Yeah,
started flying around. And then all of a sudden it's Jayla. It was just, it was just crazy how Allison was almost at the very bottom and now
yeah,
she's
I
in a
agree with
majority
you.
alliance.
Yeah,
And the same thing
I
with
do say
Bradley.
like
He was almost screwed, and now he's in a decent spot as well. John's name has been there. Like all those three are really interesting how they have been able to they started out the game on the bottom, not in the majority, basically screwed. And because of Tay and bringing in Brittany, they now have the majority. Um, so the tribes are even right now, 8-8. Did you expect that this was going to be the case at this point in the game when the season started?
um I really did hope so. I did know, I know the twists and everything, so I really was yearning for an even tribes, but I really thought the fans would have had at least a 1-person advantage, and they kind of do, I think, with the flippers of the old school.
Yeah,
So
I agree. I think this is
yeah, I don't
a
know.
good part of the season where things are even up and you have no idea what to expect, especially with the announcement of the joint tribal. It's going to be really interesting to see if the bottom three, if Arya, B, and Will, flip over to the fans for this vote to take out one of the majority five, or maybe a couple of the fans are caught on to some of the members of Yeg and flip over to the favorites to try and get one of them out. There's a whole world of possibilities, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen with this joint tribal.
Yeah, I definitely. I see a favorite going here. I'm not sure who it is going to be, but I even if the favorites stick together to make it 8-8, I don't see them going to rocks for each other. No way. So
No, I don't think anybody's going to rocks, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were idol plays as well.
yeah, I mean, Arya has the idol, but again, I don't see her using it right now. Despair has the idol, and I do see Despair using it, especially because everybody knows that they have it. So it would be smart to play it for the tribe and not just use it on themselves. That makes sense.
See, but I could see Arya doing that if she converses with B and let because I don't remember if Arya actually told B that she has the idol, but B is ready to mess up someone's game, and if she gets wind of where the idol is at, I can see her making a move with Arya to really screw somebody over.
Yeah, float like a butterfly, sting like bee.
Exactly. Um, so we've had a couple big name vote outs in Jayla, Travis, and even Oma.
Hmm.
Definitely did not expect this many big names. Well, with the favorites tribe, you have to have some big names, but it's just been a little unexpected with the vote outs this season. I fully believe that Jayla would still be in the game if it wasn't for that 420 Tetris score.
Oh, one
I
hundred
hate to say
percent.
it, but
I I think it would have been Allison. She
it would
gone.
have been Allison.
Yeah, she
It would
gone.
have. and there's nothing that she could have done about it. So it's amazing how one thing can change the course of the game in someone's favor.
Well, yeah, you saw that on season 9 too with Allison. A lot of things went her way, and that's not anything to take away from Allison's game, but it's just interesting to watch how she played so strongly, but it started off so weak. And you're seeing it again here.
I mean, I think we can all agree that luck is a big part of playing these games. You have to have luck a little bit on your side in order to make it far or even win.
Or just Jayla.
Or just Jayla. So what's really interesting to me, and something I don't think I was expecting at the beginning of the season, was how extremely chaotic this favorites tribe is and how incredibly united the fans tribe is. Not that I was necessarily expecting it to be vice versa, but the chaos going on the favorites tribe blows me away. I don't even know where to begin with them.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, usually with fans versus favorites, tribal lines are very much intact, especially when it comes to like joint tribals and stuff. And the favorites just are playing it personally, I think, at the moment, and not really with strategy. So it's interesting to see.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree that they're playing more emotionally based than they are strategic based.
And they're supposed to be the vets, like.
That doesn't always mean everything. They're vets to this
Server,
yes. But my goodness, they are definitely at least entertaining to watch. So I asked a question yesterday for people of the server to answer, and I asked what they thought of the entertainment of the season so far and kind of how they were watching. The majority of the people said that they were really enjoying it and they were casually specking, which was what we can expect when it comes to, a server. People have their lives and other things going on. But it's good to know that the fans of the season, not the fans in the game, are actually enjoying the season so far and paying attention and watching. It makes it a lot more of a fun experience for all those involved. I got a couple questions here from our listeners. James asks, who from the faves has the best chance to sway votes from the fans this tribal? Who from the faves has the best chance to sway votes from the fans this tribal? Jack, any ideas?
Well, I personally think that Arya is the best person to get any votes, but if they're going to be votes in the favorites' favor, pun intended, or against them, is the question. Because she can use the ammunition that she's in the minority right now, and the fans might eat that up, and they might not believe her. Who knows? But I don't really see anyone else really convincing them that they should flip to their side.
I agree. And it also brings a point. So obviously we lost Oma last episode, but Mark is still in the game and Mark is very connected with these favorites. Do you think that he takes a risk to join them in a vote, or do you think he just kind of stays where he's at with his fans?
I mean, right now, we just saw him use that against Oma to send him out 8-1. And his best connection on that tribe was Jayla, in fact. So he might use this time to see who voted her out, who started it, and use that against them. So I don't really see him flipping to the faves at this point in time, because he might not think there's a swap. He might not want it to swap. Who knows? So, and he has to stay with those fans, So flipping right now wouldn't really do him good next tribal or a tribal after that.
I agree. If he flips, he's gone. He immediately gone, especially since I think the entire fans tribe knows his connection to the favorites. Mm-hmm. So they have to be at least a little concerned that that's a possibility. But if he sticks with his fans and he shows his loyalty to them by sticking with them, I think he's got a good shot of at least making it a few more rounds. I'm still torn if he'll make the merge based off of what happened to Oma, but he'll have a better shot if he sticks with them.
Yeah, I agree. Especially because Yeg seems to have taken them under his wing, especially with the Oma vote out. So I don't see him really going as of right now, unless he does something stupid.
Well, it only takes one thing, as we've seen.
Yep.
So Paul asks, which favorite do you think has the most potential to win? I'm going to go with Arya or B, but they're in the minority right now. So if they can get, because we've already seen them have, a bit of like a strategic mindset, but also emotional gameplay. So if they can make it to where they're not in the minority, I think they have a decent shot.
I agree, especially with Arya, not just because she's in my draft, but
Same.
I think she really has potential, and I didn't spectate season 1. I know, so utilize she has the idol, knowing that Arya for her challenge ability right now. So I'm not sure go against his dislike.
That's true. But then again, actually, when I know Vice versa has the most potential to win, in my opinion, because he is everywhere. People trust him, people like him, and he has. But I think that he's just in a really good spot to make it far because of his connections.
I agree. Matthew is, and the only thing I've really seen against him is actually from Yeg, but I think he can use everyone against Yeg in the end. So just interesting to see when he'll actually do it, or if they'll get to him first. I see them going head to head soon.
I would like to see Yeg in the sense that he's in with figure it out Roy Yeg.
Yeah, really observant. He called on the Jalen Carm got onto Yeg. So it's like you can see his game, it was kind of shaky. But now you can see it really come. Hell hath no fury like a Yeg scorned.
Sees that potential, but also he needs to be careful because of goodness, he is gone. So Canadian scorn. So James asks, does Dez play the idol on Kip? I'm gonna go with no, just because my logical brain says that's not a smart plan. But I could actually see Dez doing that because Kip it has such control, and if he gets wind that he could be a vote, I think that he could convince and almost manipulate Dez into playing the idol on him. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, especially if Kip is the target of the 8 favorites this round and they catch wind of it, I feel like it would be a smart move for Despair to or Dez to play the idol on Kip, because 1, it shows that they're loyal, and 2, it gets rid of the idol that everyone knows he has already. And that just seems beneficial to me, because if you have an idol, you have a target on your back, and everyone knows that. Look at Allison in season 9. Everyone knew it, and she got targeted for it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's very true, and Yeag has already mentioned that Despair could possibly be in trouble
Mm-hmm.
because they all know that about the idol. So yeah, I don't think Despair should have told them about the idol, but
Well,
to
some
each
of
their
them, I
own.
think some of them saw it happen because they did it at like 8 a.m. in the morning or something.
That's true. I still can't believe that they all idol searched together. I've never heard of that before in org. That's crazy.
That was really well organized, but they should have the people who did it should have favored it in their favor instead of like a lot of people got the places that have already been searched, and they
And I
had
think Kip was one of those, wasn't he?
yeah, exactly, like they really like, I don't know, it just didn't seem the wisest choice by some, but I mean everyone knows about it now, so it's kind of a public idol in a sense.
It really is. It's the fans' idol right now. And if Despair goes against what people tell her to do with it, it could be bad.
Oh, Despair is at the mercy of the fans, and it's not looking good.
Yeah, really. So Alex asks, "Is there a stronger alliance than Yegg in the entire game?" No.
And in the game this season, no.
Well, I wouldn't say it's stronger, but I do think the bond of John, Allison, and Bradley is a strong bond that kind of like Yegg had connections coming into the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are comparable to Yegg, but they don't have the control that Yegg has.
Yeah, they could. I think they could be Yegg 2.0, so to speak, but they don't have that capital at this moment, and I don't really see it happening for them until merge possibly.
And the reason that Yegg is so successful is one, nobody knows about them, and two, they are everywhere. I think they are aligned with every single person on the tribe. So to be able to have like that weave around an entire tribe is almost unstoppable, and that almost works in the favorites against the favorites because they can never do that because they're known. People know their connections. People know their gameplay. People know how they work. So it's nearly impossible for the favorites to be able to have that much control.
Yeah, it's just the favorites. I don't think they have the people to do it, and they don't have the ability to do it either. So.
Well, that is all the questions I have. We've done the recaps, we've done the questions, we've had a good conversation, and this is just the first live podcast. So we're going to continue to talk about things that are happening in the season, things that shocked us, our opinions on what's been happening. I really enjoyed Jack as my special guest, so I won't be surprised if he comes back. Of course, thank you for stepping up. I really appreciate it. That is all we have for this podcast today. Join us next week as we go over the next couple episodes as they come. And everybody have a good night. Thank you.